So, what if our deepest anxieties, the things that keep us up at night, aren't really about us? What if they're about the world we live in? Today, we're diving into the work of Karen Horney, a truly revolutionary psychoanalyst who wasn't afraid to challenge the father of the field, Sigmund Freud. And, in the process, she completely changed the game. This one sentence right here, this was the bombshell. This idea put Karen Horney on a direct collision course with the entire psychoanalytic establishment of her day. And to really get why this was so radical, we have to first understand the world she was pushing back against.
And make no mistake, that world was built pretty much brick by one person, Sigmund Freud. His theories weren't just ideas. Back then, they were basically the law of the land in psychology.
At the heart of Freud's thinking was this idea of causality. Basically, who you are today is almost entirely determined by things that happened in your past, especially way back in your childhood. He saw people as being trapped in this constant internal battle between Eros, the life instinct, and Thanatos, the death instinct. We were just doomed to repeat these old patterns over and over again. And this all tied back to his big idea of biological determinism. You've probably heard the phrase, anatomy is destiny. Well, that was the absolute foundation of his theory. For Freud, pretty much everything, our fears, our dreams, our ambitions, it could all be traced back to our biology, to these deep-seated primal drives. Okay, so into this world, this very rigid Freudian world, steps Karen Horney. And what's so fascinating is that she started out as a true believer. She trained with one of Freud's inner circle, but eventually she became one of his sharpest critics. You can really see her evolution here. I mean, she learned the rules of psychoanalysis from the inside, from the very top. And that deep understanding is what gave her this unique perspective. It gave her the insight, and honestly the courage, to see where the theories just weren't matching up with the real people she was trying to help. And this is where we get to the heart of her break with Freud. It all came down to a huge disagreement about what really makes us tick. You could almost call it a showdown, biology versus society. This right here, this comparison, really captures the revolution she started. It's so simple, but so powerful. She basically grabbed the psychoanalytic lens and just refocused it. She shifted it from looking inward at our bodies to looking outward at the world around us. Horney argued that if you really want to understand a person, you can't just look at their biology. You have to look at the culture that's shaping them every single day. And this was her critical point. For Horney, our anxiety isn't mainly coming from some internal, instinctual conflict. No, it's a direct result of external pressures from our society, the things that make us feel insecure, conflicted, and, well, neurotic. She believed they are products of the specific time and place we happen to live in. But Horney didn't just stop there and say, hey, culture matters. She went way deeper. She developed this incredibly powerful theory to explain exactly how our culture cooks up all this anxiety. She called it the vicious circle. She saw modern society as this engine of neurosis because it teaches us to want completely opposite things at the same time, which, of course, creates this constant state of internal conflict. I mean, does any of this sound familiar to you? This is the impossible situation she described so perfectly. We are constantly being pushed and pulled in opposite directions. Think about it. Society tells us, be a kind, humble team player, but also, you better be the #1 star. It screams about hustle culture and striving for more, while at the same time preaching about the importance of mindfulness and work-life balance. It tells you you can be anything you want to be, but oh yeah, here are all the reasons you can't. So what happens to a person's mind when you're constantly living with these conflicting pressures? Well, Horney had a very clear and pretty compelling answer. It creates a feedback loop. See, the anxiety that bubbles up from all these cultural contradictions, it leads us to develop these neurotic coping strategies, like an obsessive need for affection, or a desperate grab for power, or trying to win social approval at all costs. But those behaviors just end up creating more anxiety. And around we go. The circle really does become vicious. So, why are we still talking about Karen Horney today? Why does her psychoanalytic social theory feel maybe more relevant now than ever before? Well, her contributions just fundamentally changed the entire conversation in psychology. By shifting the focus away from our fixed biology and onto our ever-changing culture and relationships, she opened the door for a much more holistic, more relevant, and I think a more hopeful way of looking at human personality. If there's one thing to take away from all this, it's Horney's invitation.
She's asking us to look not just inward at our personal history, but also outward, at the culture that's molding us every single day. Her work is this powerful reminder that we are all products of our time and place. And maybe understanding those societal pressures is the real first step to understanding ourselves.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. How do those pressures to be humble but win, to strive endlessly, to be free but feel totally restricted, how do they show up in your own life? Horney's work suggests that really sitting with that question might just be the key to our own psychological well-being.